Today, instead of following a hero through shining halls and bright fields, we are going to walk beside the figures most stories warn you about. The villains, the ones whose names are spoken with a shiver or a whisper, the ones who stand in the way, twist the rules, or smile when the plan falls apart. It might seem strange to spend a night thinking about them. Heroes are easier. Heroes are safe. But the truth is that many of the most powerful stories are carried by their villains. They are the storm at the edge of the map, the weight that bends the hero's path, the question that will not go away. What would you do if you had more power, less kindness, and nothing left to lose? Think for a moment about the first villain you remember from a book, a show, or a game. Maybe it was a dark sorcerer, a cold queen, a smiling tyrant, or a monster in human shape. What stayed with you? Was it their laugh, their power, the way they seemed so sure of themselves when everyone else was afraid? Many people notice something uncomfortable when they look closely. A tiny part of them understands the villain. A tiny part even likes them. Psychologists who study stories have noticed this too. Many readers and viewers report that they feel drawn to villains who share something with them, even something small. A similar background, a familiar fear, or a hidden wish. When a villain is only a flat block of evil, our minds slide off them. But when we see pain, humour, or a twisted kind of love inside that darkness, our curiosity wakes up. We lean closer. We say, I would never do what they did, but I can see how they got there. Stories often give villains more freedom than heroes. The hero is tied to rules and promises. The villain can do the things the hero is not allowed to do. They can break the table instead of sitting at it. They can say no without caring how many people they disappoint. Watching that from a safe distance can feel like opening a window in a room that has been closed for a long time. You do not want to follow them outside into the storm, but you cannot deny that the air smells sharp and strong. Deep down, every person carries a part of themselves they do not want to look at. Old thinkers called this the shadow, the side of the mind that holds not only shame and anger, but also wildness and honest reactions. Most days we keep this part on a leash. We put on our best face, we try to be polite, and we pretend we never have ugly thoughts. Villains in fiction often live inside that shadow. They say what we swallow. They act on the impulses we push away. They can be selfish, jealous, hungry for revenge, unwilling to forgive. But the shadow's not only evil, it also holds real needs that were never heard. The need to be respected, the need to be safe, the need to be seen as more than a tool or a toy. Many villains are born in the moment when those needs are denied too many times, when a wound that could have healed is ignored until it hardens into something else. Imagine a child in a grand city, standing at the edge of a shining square. Everyone around them is laughing, buying sweets, and praising the hero of the hour. The child reaches out to tug on a parent's sleeve, but the parent is busy, always busy. The child asks a question and is brushed aside. They bring home perfect grades and brave smiles, and no one notices. Over time, hurt becomes numbness, and numbness becomes a quiet conclusion. If I cannot matter by being good, I will matter by being feared. This is one common path into a villain's mind: hurt and humiliation. Again and again, the world tells them that they are small, weak, or invisible. They may be mocked for things they cannot change. They may be punished for speaking the truth, or ignored when they try to do the right thing. Shame wraps around them like a cloak, and shame rarely leads to kindness. It often flips into anger. If you will not accept me, they think, then I will force you to notice me. Another path is fear disguised as control. Picture someone who has lived through chaos and loss, who has watched people they love taken away by war, disease, or random cruelty. That person may grow up with a deep, crushing belief: the world is not safe, and to survive you must grab the reins and never let go. A villain with this root does not always enjoy hurting others. What they enjoy is the feeling of not being at the mercy of anyone else. They tighten their grip until everyone around them feels like a puppet or a piece on a board. From the outside, such a character looks cold and power-hungry. On the inside, they are terrified of being powerless again. They build walls, not only around their city, but around their heart. They plan every outcome, twist every rule, and tell themselves, if I control everything, nothing can hurt me. The tragedy is that this belief is based on a lie. Life is never fully under control, but by the time they realize this, they have often done things they cannot take back. A third route is story itself. Humans live inside stories the way fish live in water. We shape our lives around ideas of who is right, who is wrong, and what must be done. A villain is often someone whose story has taken a hard, sharp turn. They may believe that their people are chosen and others are trash. They may believe that suffering now will create a perfect world later, and that anyone who gets in the way is a necessary sacrifice. This is where ideology comes in. When a leader tells a crowd, "We are the only ones who truly matter," or, "If we do not strike first, they will destroy us," they are offering a ready-made villain story. It has clear lines and simple colours. In such a story, mercy looks like weakness, and questioning looks like betrayal. A character who swallows this story whole can commit terrible acts with a calm face, because in their mind, they are the hero of a bigger picture. Some fictional villains are built from traits that psychologists call the dark triad. This triad includes narcissism, the belief that one is special and deserves praise at all times; Machiavellianism, a cold focus on strategy and manipulation; and psychopathy, a pattern of low empathy, thrill-seeking, and lack of remorse. People with strong doses of these traits often see others as objects in a game. Feelings are tools, trust is bait. In stories, a narcissistic villain might demand constant admiration, punishing anyone who fails to applaud loud enough. A Machiavellian villain might plan 10 steps ahead, smiling politely while arranging quiet disasters in the background. A psychopathic villain might feel no guilt at all, only boredom, and treat harm like a way to pass the time. Not every villain fits these patterns, and not every person with those traits becomes a villain. But when writers want to create someone who feels truly dangerous, they often pull from this dark mix. Still, even the coldest villain needs a way to live with themselves. Very few characters wake up, look in the mirror, and say, "I love being evil." Instead, they use mental tricks to silence the part of them that would feel bad. This process is sometimes called moral disengagement, and stories show it again and again. One trick is moral justification. The villain tells themselves that the harm they cause is serving a noble goal. "Yes, I destroyed that village," they might think, "but it was the only way to bring peace to the kingdom." Another trick is sanitizing language. Instead of saying, "I tortured someone," they say, "I applied pressure." Instead of "I killed," they say, "I cleaned up a problem." There is also diffusion of responsibility. A commander might say, "I was only following orders," while the ruler says, "I only set the policy. They chose how to carry it out." When everyone shares the blame, no one feels it fully, and perhaps the most chilling trick is dehumanization. The villains stop seeing their targets as people at all. They call them animals, insects, or numbers. Once someone is no longer seen as a person, it becomes much easier to hurt them and sleep at night. All of these mental moves are not just fantasy. They have been seen in real history, in wars, in organised crime, in everyday bullying. Fiction simply takes these patterns and gives them a face we can watch safely. When you see a villain sneer, "They deserved it," or shrug off the suffering they cause, you are seeing moral disengagement at work. So if villains are made of hurt, fear, twisted stories, and mental tricks, why do we sometimes feel sorry for them? Why do we sometimes root for them, at least a little, even as they fall? Part of the answer is empathy. Humans have a strong ability to feel with others, even when we know they are wrong. When a story shows us a villain's past, the moment they were betrayed, the day they were left alone, the choice that backed them into a corner, our heart recognizes familiar pain. We know what it is like to be rejected, humiliated, or powerless, even if we never turn to cruelty ourselves. So when a villain flinches at a reminder of their old life, or hesitates before crossing a line, we feel that pull. Our empathy does not erase the damage they do, but it does remind us that no one is only one thing. A person can love their child and still commit crimes. A person can save a stranger one day and hurt someone the next. Fiction lets us hold that complexity without having to decide a real sentence or write a real law. There is also a softer reason. When we can still care a little about someone who has done terrible things in a story, it gently proves something about us. It proves that our capacity to understand does not vanish the moment someone disappoints us. We can say, "You are wrong and dangerous," and also say, "I see how you became this way." That does not mean we should excuse real harm, but it shows that our hearts are wider than simple labels. Villains also serve as mirrors for heroes. Think of a knight standing on a cliff, staring at an enemy below, who shares the same training, the same talents, even the same wounds, but who chose a different path. Often the villain is the hero's what if. What if the hero had given into bitterness instead of hope? What if they believed that their pain gave them permission to hurt others? This mirror can be very direct. A hero may see the villain use the same power they use, but for selfish gain. This forces the hero to ask, why am I different? What keeps me from becoming that? The answer is rarely that the hero is simply better. It is often that the hero had one person who stayed, one chance to heal, one small act of kindness that interrupted the spiral. Recognizing this can bring humility. It shows that the line between hero and villain is thin and human, not bright and simple. Some stories push this even further by letting the hero step close to that line. We watch them struggle with anger, hunger for revenge, or the temptation to abuse their power. In those moments, the villain is not just an enemy to defeat, but a possible future to reject. When the hero steps back from that edge, we feel relief. Part of that relief comes from knowing that we too can step back when we feel dark urges rise. Villains do not stand alone. Around them are followers, helpers, and bystanders. The psychology of the villain is tangled with the psychology of the people who choose to stand beside them. Some follow out of fear, some follow because the villain offers them a place to belong, or someone to blame for their troubles. Some convince themselves that if they are close to the villain, they can control the damage, or at least avoid becoming a target. From the villain's point of view, these followers are tools, proof of greatness, or sometimes the only people they think they can trust. They may reward loyalty with rare moments of warmth, then punish the slightest doubt. This push and pull can trap their followers in a painful bond. In fiction, it often takes great courage for one of these followers to finally break away, admit the truth, and stand against the person they once served. When that happens, we see that the villain's power was never only in their own mind. It was in the people who believed in their story. Now bring your attention back from distant castles and shadowed labs. Think about your own life for a moment, gently and without judgment. Have you ever caught yourself enjoying the idea of getting back at someone who hurt you? Have you ever tried to justify a mean remark by saying, they started it, or brushed off someone's feelings because it was easier not to care? These are small, common things. Almost everyone experiences flashes like this. The point of looking at villains is not to scare you into thinking you are a monster. It is to show you that villainy is not made of magic dust. It is made of very human pieces. Hurt, fear, pride, laziness, the desire to avoid guilt. When these pieces pile up and go unexamined, they can push someone toward cruelty. When they are noticed and faced, they can be softened and changed. You can think of your own shadow side as a strong, stubborn animal. If you lock it in a dark cellar and pretend it is not there, it will scratch and howl and look for a way out. If you open the door and look at it, you might find that it is scared more than it is wicked. It needs clear limits and also patience. When you admit, I am capable of jealous thoughts, you are less likely to act on them blindly. When you admit, part of me wants to hurt back when I am hurt, you can choose to pause, breathe, and do something kinder instead. Fictional villains give us models of what happens when no one opens that cellar door in time. Their anger grows unchecked. Their fear is never soothed. Their stories never get challenged. By watching them, we practice the skill of seeing danger so early. We say, that is the face of someone who has convinced themselves that other people are not real. I do not want to become that. At the same time, we can also feel a kind of grief for them. Not because their actions are okay, but because we see the person they might have been if things had gone differently. A villain who finally breaks down and admits, I did not want to be alone, can move us deeply, even if they must still face the consequences of what they did. That moment shows us that underneath all the armour, there was a human heart trying, in a twisted way, to survive. As you lie here listening, you might picture a long hallway lined with doors. Behind each door is a different kind of villain. The broken child grown hard, the ruler who fears being weak, the thinker who loves their idea more than people, the trickster who treats life like a game. Each door is a warning and a lesson. But you are not trapped in that hallway. You are a visitor passing through, learning and then returning to your own path. On your path, you will meet anger, envy, and the hunger for control. That is not a sign that you are doomed to become the villain of your own story. It is simply a sign that you are human. What matters is what you do when you notice those feelings. Do you hide them and let them grow in secret? Do you pretend you are above them? Or do you hold them up to the light and say, I see you, I know where you come from, and I will not let you rule me? The more you practice that gentle honesty with yourself, the less power your shadow has to steer your choices in secret. The more you remember the full personhood of others, their fears, their hopes, their families and friends, the harder it becomes to dehumanize them, even in your thoughts. You begin to step away from the mental habits that feed villains in stories and in life. Blame, excuses, and the belief that your pain matters more than anyone else's.